Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, then welcome. I'm a law student at Yale Law and I post random videos about my life. Today I decided to finally go on camera and use my real voice because I wanted to do a Q&A in celebration of 1,000 subscribers, and I thought that it would be no fun for anyone to read the answers to 20 questions in text form on a video. I'm super grateful that people are actually interested in my videos and that the response has been very positive. It really makes my day to see all your comments about everything, and I hope to continue making videos in the future. This is Amethyst, my dog. Right now he's feeling very antsy because my mom's in the kitchen cooking and he wants to go over there to see what's going on. This is also my first time ever just sitting on camera and doing a sit-down video, so it feels really awkward to just be in the middle of my living room talking to a camera. But here we go. So the first question is, why law school? The truthful answer is that I didn't really know what I wanted to do after I graduated from college, and my parents thought that law would be a good career path for me, despite me having no lawyers in the family, nor knowing any lawyers in our family friends circle. Around junior year in college, I had to decide what I was going to do after I graduated, and I thought, well, why not give law a shot? I knew that if I got into a good law school, it would enable me to have a financially secure start to my career, and that I would later be able to transition into other areas of work or do something completely different if I wanted to. And I knew that it would give me a good network and just be a good launching pad for me. Also, it might sound cliche, but I think that the law can really change lives. I'm grateful to live in a country that runs under rule of law instead of rule by law, even if it does seem like our legal order may be eroding at times. Second question is, what is your advice for your college self? The most important part is to focus on your physical and mental health, because without those two, you basically have nothing else, and you will crash and burn at some point. Also, it's really important to find people that you like, to make friends, and to cherish the ones that matter to you, and hold on to them and never let them go. I also think it's important to not just focus on your studies all the time, but also to make sure that you find time to do things that you like, to discover new hobbies or maintain current ones, and to just get out your comfort zone and try new things. For example, in college, I decided to apply to be a bell ringer because we had this giant church tower that had these giant bells, and you would pull these wooden levers and the bells above would ring, and that was definitely one of the highlights of my college experience. The next question is, how did you get into Yale, perfect grades, extraordinary character, or something else? Well, I will say that it was definitely not my extraordinary character. I also had median grades and LSAT score for Yale, so I think it was a combination of me having a pretty cohesive narrative for why I wanted to go to law school. I was an environmental studies and political science major, so I talked a lot about that. And it was also a lot of luck and my guardian angel working double shifts to make it happen, so shout out to her. The next question is, how did you study for the LSAT?
Just stay here. Stay here with me, please.
If I don't scratch him, he's gonna leave immediately. Even now he wants to leave, so trying my best here. Okay, how did I study for the LSAT? I used mainly two resources. The first was Mike Kim's LSAT trainer, which I honestly cannot recommend enough. Definitely on my list of favorite books of all time because it saved my butt for the LSAT. It basically taught me how to approach all of the sections and gave me some problems to work through. So after I finished the LSAT trainer, I then just did practice tests, and I would do as many practice tests as I could. I only had 5 to 6 weeks to study for the LSAT, which was totally a self-inflicted wound because I actually had planned 6 months to study for it, and before I knew it, it was January, and I had signed up for the test in February, and my whole life was a mess because I procrastinated like crazy, but that's another story for another day. After I finished learning the LSAT trainer, I went on 7Sage and I used their score tracker to track my practice test progress and which sections I was getting questions wrong in. I also used their logic games videos because they have really fantastic explanations for how to do the logic games, and that was definitely my weakest section. But logic games is also the most improvable section, so I saw a lot of progress just using 7Sage's video explanations. For my practice tests, I think it's really important to do something called blind review, which is when first you do the practice test like it's the real thing with all your timers and all your real breaks. And then after you're done that, you circle the answers that you're unsure about, and then you do them untimed. And then you check both sets of answers and review where you went wrong. So basically in the mornings, I would do a practice test, and then I would blind review. And then in the afternoons, I would spend all that time basically reviewing my answers carefully to see where I went wrong. I think quality over quantity for these practice tests because it's pretty easy to burn out. So take breaks when you need them. Sometimes I would just take the whole day off. Sometimes I would only focus on a specific section. I didn't do practice tests every single day. And then the day before the test, I didn't do anything at all. I think I watched Cinderella. It definitely helped me calm down for test day. Overall, I would definitely say start early. I'm a huge procrastinator and crammed for it, but it definitely would have been a lot more pleasant if I'd had more time to prepare. The next question is, what made you choose Yale over Harvard or any other law school that I got into? The first is definitely its lenient grading system. Yale has no curve and we're not ranked against each other, unlike most other law schools, I believe, except for Stanford. And this really makes a difference in terms of how competitive the atmosphere feels and how stressed students feel on a day-to-day basis. I mean, obviously there are a lot of type A students given that we are at a law school, but I found that it was very easy for me to relax and to not worry about grades because of our grading system. Our first semester is fully pass-fail, and we call it pass-pass just because it's really hard to fail unless you probably literally just don't show up to your exam or you just don't write anything and put no effort into your classes. Starting from our second semester onwards, it's high pass, pass, low pass, and fail, and it's really hard to get a low pass. It could be hard to get a high pass, but as long as you have a pass, you're going to get a job, given that Yale is ranked the top law school in the country. Also, this is admittedly not a deciding factor, but the Yale campus is gorgeous, and it's probably one of the prettiest campuses I've been on, and I love New Haven. Alright, Amethyst is getting antsy, but I still want him to be in the video because he's such a cutie. Next question. How is the diversity amongst your class? The diversity is pretty good according to statistics. So according to Yale's website, my class is 49% students of color. However, I do think there's always room for improvement. Alright, well, I let my dog go for now because he was getting incredibly frustrated that I was keeping him hostage when he could be exploring all the sounds coming from the kitchen. Next question is, what are the students like? Everyone is nice, incredibly accomplished, and humble. I love the people that I've met so far, and I know everyone's going to go on to do great things with their careers and their lives. It always surprises me to learn new things about my classmates every single day because we all have such diverse experiences and come from such diverse backgrounds. Everyone adds something to the conversation, and I'm really grateful for that. What is your favorite thing about Yale? This is really cliche, but it's honestly the people. I definitely wouldn't have had such a great year if it weren't for the amazing group of friends that I found, and for all of our hangouts, for all of our board game nights, for all of our late night chats about life, about relationships, about school, about everything in between. Also, there's this amazing donut place called Donut Crazy that's right next to the law school, and it's definitely not good for my health, but it's so good. I highly recommend that place if you ever visit New Haven. My next question asked for tips about one out fall. I will preface this by saying that Yale has a credit-fail system for one out fall, and it's often called a pass-pass system, so your mileage may vary at another school. But I will say that it will be hard, especially at first. You're learning how to read cases, which is basically a completely new language, so don't feel discouraged if it takes you ages to finish the reading for a class, or if you feel like you're not absorbing anything. There were days where I would show up to class and just have absolutely no idea what was going on, spend 2 hours sitting in the classroom, and then walk home feeling completely dazed. My second tip would be to stay on top of your readings. If you fall behind, try to get notes from someone else and move on instead of trying to catch up because you won't be able to. That, or make an effort to read the Quimby briefs, especially for your first semester. I think it's important to at least get used to what law school is all about and what the cases are all about and what the law actually looks like. Quimby is your best friend. If your school doesn't provide you with a subscription, I highly recommend getting one. You can always split a subscription with your friends. Your other best friends are your fellow 1Ls who are suffering with you, as well as the wise 2Ls and 3Ls who have survived the journey before you. So don't be afraid to reach out, ask them for help. I had classes where I would just zone out and completely miss out on taking notes, so then I would ask my fellow classmates who were more than happy to provide notes. Also, when it comes close to exam time, you'll want an outline for the exams, so don't be afraid to use other people's outlines, especially upperclassmen. They will be more than happy to provide you with them. And don't be afraid to also help out other people. Law school is more than just 3 years that you spend in that one building. It's also about the friendships and relationships that you build along the way that will last throughout your entire career. My last tip would be to pay attention in lectures, and if you get easily distracted on your laptop, take notes by hand. My first semester, 3 of my professors banned laptops, and 1 of them didn't, and I definitely absorbed more in the lectures where the professor had banned laptops, because then I couldn't go online shopping or look at what the person in front of me was doing. I really had to just sit there and focus, or zone out, which I also did, but at least I decreased my chances for getting distracted. What are some things that surprised you about law school? This is pretty Yale specific, but I'm super grateful that the forgiving academic nature of YLS, that we have no rank and great job outcomes, has allowed me to take more time for myself. I was pretty burnt out at the end of senior year in college, and since I went straight through, I tried not to burn myself out more this past year. I've had time to play League of Legends again, I've had time to learn piano again, and to just really do the things that I like doing that bring me joy without worrying about getting the top rank in my class. I've also had lots of time to visit my boyfriend in New York. I went almost every week this past year. It's a 3-hour trip by train that's super convenient, super easy, and I'm really grateful that New York is so accessible. What is your motivation to keep on hustling? I'm motivated by the people around me. I'm not a very self-driven person, definitely not type A, definitely not the stereotypical litigator or stereotypical law student, whatever that means, that you think of, that you see in the movies, that you see in media. I'm more laid back and I have a pretty chill approach to life, but I'm definitely inspired by all of my classmates who are very driven, very ambitious, and very accomplished. Whenever I see them working hard, then I'm also inspired to work hard, which is why quarantine has honestly been pretty hard, just because I'm not around people who are working every day. At least back when I was in New Haven on campus, I would go to the library to study, and I would feel bad if I was watching YouTube because everyone around me would be studying. I'm also motivated by my long-term goals to eventually find a career, find a position that I really love, doing something creative or doing something that I'm passionate about. And thinking about those long-term goals really keeps me going. How is your work-life balance? How much free time do you have a day? How much learning time? This varied a lot over the past year, so during fall semester, my first semester, it was definitely crazy, and I did not have a lot of free time. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 times a week, I would have class at 8 a.m. And then Tuesday, Thursdays, my classes would start at 10 a.m. And I would have chunks of time between classes. But those chunks of time I would spend on campus in the law school at the library, just so I could catch up on readings and be prepared for my next class. I usually got home around 6 p.m. so that I could cook dinner and eat and unwind in the evenings. I would also spend the evenings catching up on readings that I hadn't done for the following day. So I was pretty busy. I will say that the weekends from Friday afternoon to Sunday night, I would be in New York with my boyfriend, so I never did any work whenever I went to New York. I thought it was best if I had kind of a degree of separation and not be entrenched in law school everything all the time. In spring, because my classes were lighter on the readings, so the classes that are heavier on the readings we call black letter law, which is basically when you're reading a ton of cases and you're trying to learn the doctrine, and these are often lecture-based classes. All 4 of my classes in fall semester, which were the required courses that we have to all take, were black letter courses, so there was a lot of reading my fall semester. In spring, Yale lets us choose whatever electives we want. I had a good mix of seminar, of lecture, of clinics, which are more experiential, where you're actually doing work with real-life clients. So I definitely had more free time on my hands. And I also scheduled my classes so that I had no Friday classes and no Monday morning classes. This allowed me to be in New York from Thursday afternoon through Monday morning, during which time I did no work at all. So I would say the spring was definitely more play and less work, even though I feel like I learned more in the spring just because I was more engaged with my classes and more interested in them because I picked them out myself. After quarantine hit, which was after spring break, I never returned to campus. Things all went downhill from there because I honestly don't know how much work I did, if any, on most days. What is your concentration in law school? We don't really have official concentrations in law school, but I came in knowing that I wanted to do transactional or corporate law and definitely not litigation, which I think is a pretty rare perspective because I feel like most people come into law school thinking they're going to be litigators, going to court and arguing cases in front of judges. Personally, I know that if anyone yells at me in court, I will cry. I don't know how lawyers argue without crying. Every time I argue, I start crying. It's not even out of fear. It's just out of frustration, and I am not good at expressing myself on the spot. So a long time ago, I decided that I would not become a litigator. However, I do think that transactional work is really interesting. It's kind of like behind the scenes work that makes everything happen. And in transactional work, your goal is to write contracts or negotiate deals so that litigation doesn't happen later down the line. And I've always thought that that's a very collaborative process that's always been really interesting to me. Eventually, I also want to do something environmental or climate change related. Because I was an environmental studies major in college and because climate change is an issue that's so near and dear to my heart and it's what I'm passionate about, I think it would be really cool to work for a nonprofit or in-house at a company or for some government agency. Alright, since we are nearing the end of the video and we're on to the more personal questions now, I decided to bring back Amethyst, even though he was sleeping very peacefully downstairs and now he has been rudely awakened by his older sister, who wants to use him to attract viewers in her video. Next question is, what is your favorite food? Well, I'll begin by saying that my favorite cuisines are definitely Chinese and Japanese food, and my favorite food was probably string beans, specifically the Sichuan-style sauteed string beans. These are deep fried and then sauteed, and they are so crispy and crunchy and delicious. I never get sick of eating them. Some of my other favorite foods include mangoes, blueberries, braised pork belly, lamb chops, and anything deep fried. I don't think I've ever had a deep fried something that I don't like, and one of my goals is to try out deep fried butter. I will say that I'm trying to eat more plant-based just because the animal factory farming industry is just so heinous and atrocious that it really makes me feel bad whenever I eat meat nowadays. It's hard to change that when I'm at home and my parents are very big on meat. So whenever I'm in New Haven and I cook for myself, I try not to cook meat and I try to eat mostly plant-based foods. What is your favorite college meal? I really liked anything that my friends and I cooked together. So my senior year, I didn't have to be on a meal plan anymore, and so my friends and I bought this Instant Pot, which is my favorite culinary invention ever. We would just dump random ingredients in and make these delicious stews that will last us a week. We make a pot of rice to go with it, and it was delicious. Other than that, there were late night dining halls open at my college from probably 8:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. on certain days, and my friends and I would often go there to eat late night nachos, sweet potato fries, and just all the delicious foods that you could think of, and they had really good gelato too. If you could change your major, what would it be? Okay, do you hear that? He doesn't want to be here anymore. We're almost done, Amethyst. Just be a little more patient, okay? Okay? He's slightly too big to be a lap dog, but I still make him a lap dog anyway. Alright. What was the question? Yes, if you could change your major, what would it be? I'm assuming this means my undergrad, my college major. I was an environmental studies and political science double major. If I could do it all over again, knowing that I would still end up where I am now, I would have done music instead of political science. It's not that I didn't like poli-sci, it was mostly that I was only interested in political theory, but the way the major was structured, it made you do a lot of other things, like American politics or international relations, and I just didn't find those topics as interesting, so in the end it was just me forcing myself to go through those classes just so I could meet the requirements. On the other hand, I really love music. I play multiple instruments, I grew up learning music. At one point, I considered becoming a professional musician, going to music school, but I decided not to. But music has always been a huge part of my life. I really enjoyed participating in orchestras and learning instruments in college. So if I could do it over again, I probably would have studied more music. Overall, I honestly don't regret anything. I'm super grateful for the majors that I did and for the professors that I met and all the people that I met. Would you do a room tour? Yes. Once I am back in New Haven, back in my apartment, once everything goes back to normal, which we don't know when that will be yet, I will be glad to do a room tour. Can you do a cartwheel? Absolutely not. I'm the least athletic and coordinated person you'll ever see. I remember when I was younger, I would try to do cartwheels, and I was just so scared about my head going upside down that it just never happened. I can barely do somersaults without getting motion sick. All right, the last question is, why Untitled Law Student? That's a really good question. I think it was more of a spur of the moment thing. One day I just woke up and decided, hey, let me make a day in the life of a Yale Law student since nobody's ever done it before. I made the video and I needed to create a YouTube account to put the video on, and I had no idea what to call it, so I just decided to go with Untitled Law Student. I had no idea why I didn't call myself Unnamed Law Student or just a Law Student, which honestly I'm thinking of changing my channel name to, but if you have any better suggestions, please let me know, because this is by no means a permanent name, nor am I particularly attached to it. I think it just works for my purposes. Alright, that's all the questions that I'll be doing for now. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for supporting my videos, for being interested in them. I hope this was somewhat interesting. If not, I hope that you at least enjoyed watching my dog look cute. Thanks for watching. Say bye. Remember this? Say bye.